I really hope that Scott doesn't pop out, Mike, because then it's just you and me, and I don't know what
I've
we're
been prepared. It's obvious. The comments last video called me out. This guy does no research. They were right.
Yeah. So I think, Scott, if you pop out due to the fires, then show's over. How about that? Okay.
Yes.
Aside from the fires, there's a positive aspect for your family this week. The Notre Dame playing in the CFP semifinal. Penn State, dude, we got to talk about this game. I am really excited about the four teams that we have left here in the college football playoff. Okay. And hear me out. It is because of kind of the cultural significance of the four teams that we have left. Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, and Texas. These are like four blue blood programs in college football. And it's interesting to see that when we kind of expand the scope of the meritocracy by expanding the college playoff pool and giving 12 teams a shot, and also everything kind of leveling out because of the transfer portal and NIL and things like that. So things are in a lot of ways evening out, but the four teams that remain in this situation in the first year of this are four super traditional blue blood programs. What do you think about that? Do you think there's any credibility to my statement here?
Oh yeah, dude. I love the makeup of the CFP. Obviously people are going to be up in arms that there's not a blue blood SEC team. Well, outside of Texas,
yeah,
different animal, but like, in Alabama or something along those lines. I love the element to this. I think we were touching on it last time. You said, hey, America is back. This is just quintessential, throwback sort of matchups that I love to see. And I know the rest of the country loves to see, because right now, I think on this show, we all know who America's team is right now and who everybody wants to win.
Oh yeah, dude. I got a map that I'm going to pull up here in a second. But just before that, just to kind of wrap this into just pop culture and the significance of these are the common cell phones that were around the last time each one of these teams won a national championship. Okay. For those just listening, this is going to be a little bit of a tough one for you, but we've got 1986 when Penn State won. You've got this big, huge, bulky cell phone that's got a whole suitcase connected to it. 1988, Scott, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Cell phones at least getting a little more portable then. And then 2005 for Texas, Motorola Razr, dude. That's like when we were getting into high school. Do you remember how cool those phones were?
Oh yeah, but I was never one to own one. I had to buy my own, so I always had the clunky Nokia.
Yeah, good. It's a good families. They do not provide their teenagers cell phones too early. And then, of course, Ohio State in 2014 with the iPhone 6. So we've got that. But you were bringing it up, dude, that Notre Dame is America's team right now, and the team that's the entire country is rooting for. So for those just listening, we've got a map up here of the United States, excluding Canada and Greenland and the Panama Canal, the current United States. And Notre Dame is being rooted for throughout the entire country, aside from Pennsylvania, Texas, and a few southern states, and then, of course, Ohio. Scott, why do you think this is? Why do you think that Notre Dame is kind of so beloved in that right now in the CFP 2024, 2025, Notre Dame is really kind of representing America?
Because I think at this point, people have seen Notre Dame right in the top 25, top 10, call it for the past 20 years, even longer than that. But they haven't quite reached the level of success that they had in, call it yesteryear, 1988, last time they won the national championship. I think there's a yearning to get back to that dominance across the board, and seeing somebody else other than somebody coming out of the SEC winning it and really retaking that sort of history and tradition that was Notre Dame football and that was so vast across the country. And I do have to point out is what's up with Alaska, and also the Gulf of America needs to figure it out. I know Texas is down there, but let's go. Come on, guys.
Gulf of America coming in hot. Alaska, I'm quite disappointed. That makes no sense geographically or culturally why Penn State would be, or excuse me, why Alaska would be rooting for Penn State. You ever been to Alaska, dude?
No, but that's definitely one of the places I really want to get to before I kick the bucket. That's for sure.
Scott, why are you even bringing that up, man? You don't have to kick the bucket,
which could be pretty soon.
Jeez, too soon, Mike. Good Lord.
No, Scott, he was referring to other things. Okay.
Okay. Well,
me-
the reason why I say that is because memento mori. We're
Good.
all going to get there at some point. So keeping it in perspective, and I just want to see that beautiful part of the country sooner than later.
Even though they're rooting for Penn State and not Notre Dame. So this is like a fan made map, but it actually kind of coincides with Google Trends. So there's actually like legitimate data to back this up. For those just listening, I just threw up the Google search trends, and it's very similar to the map that we just threw up. And Alaska still with the Google search trends is leaning Penn State. Makes no sense. I don't understand it. The thing that I think, like, dude, I kind of give Notre Dame a little bit of shit previously, jokingly, because your family's Notre Dame family. Your dad played there, your mom, of course, and everything, the history you guys have. I kind of went on a deep dive, dude, and I am sort of, I can't say all the way because no. Don't pressure me. I'm a Georgetown Hoya, the #1 Catholic university in America. But Notre Dame, the history of it, dude, and why? Because I was like, why is Notre Dame football so popular? And you talked about it with the kind of innovation they had to be one of the first to take advantage of national radio and national broadcasts and stuff like this, but also learning about the history of kind of what it represents. First of all, it also made no sense. Why are they called the Fighting Irish? It was founded by French Catholics, by the way, which, obviously Notre Dame.
Yeah. Fun fact before you keep going down this rabbit hole. It's actually Notre Dame du Lac. So Notre Dame, like Our Lady of the Lake. So there's a little lake there. Beautiful, beautiful spot. But honestly, that's such a wild piece of information that nobody knows.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And then that they're called the Fighting Irish. And then there's kind of, I guess there's a few different origin stories or theories for why the Fighting Irish name stuck. But basically, kind of what it represents, back in that day in the late 19th century, early 20th century, like Irish immigrants, Irish Catholic immigrants, there was kind of a little bit of a discrimination against them, looked down upon a little bit. And as this Catholic university, they tried to get into what was it? I think it was called the Western Conference back then, which became the Big Ten, right? And they rejected Notre Dame. They didn't want them because of kind of this anti-Irish, anti-Catholic sentiment there.
Oh, Lord.
And they would, like, it used to be like if you called somebody Irish or you kind of brought up their Irish heritage, it was a negative connotation. And Notre Dame kind of just leaned into this and being the Fighting Irish. And so now what this to me represents is sort of America's story of like new immigrants coming to America and, trying to build a life there and pursue the American dream. And this is kind of what Notre Dame represents with that origin story there. Do you think that this is legitimate?
Oh yeah, there's a massive amount of credence to what you're saying right there. And that's definitely the movement. There's an embracement from that community, or at least early on in the days, to band together, grow their community, and pursue the American dream, as you were saying. And I think that's why, as we were looking at that earlier map, why so many people are drawn to them, because there is a rich, deep tradition that Notre Dame presents that is hearkening back to the days of what it meant to be American through and through and to its core. So like there's this, obviously we're talking about momentum shifting in this country, and it feels as though Notre Dame in the college football realm is just at the pinnacle or at the tip of the spear, the vanguard of that entire movement. And it's just like, hey, this is really cool to see a program that was so storied of old coming back to prominence.
Yes, dude. And I think that's kind of one of the cool things. And this is why it makes sense to me is like, whether you are Catholic or not, whether you have Irish heritage or not, if you are an American, you can have a connection to Notre Dame because of that origin story. And so I think that's kind of what's hitting and kind of resonating with a lot of people across the country. Myself, like I said, I'm getting kind of reborn as a Notre Dame, I don't want to say fan, but a Notre Dame admirer, shall we say.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
welcome.
Okay, don't get too excited. Maybe send me a cool Notre Dame hat. I'll take that. All right. But getting into the game, let's talk a little bit about Riley Leonard, who played quite well against Georgia despite throwing less than 100 yards. We got this clip here of him talking. Here it is.
You're going against a guy as good as Abdul Carter, and you don't know what his status is going to be. How, as far as preparation goes, how much more complex does it make it when you don't know if he's going to be full go, half go, no go, just that uncertainty?
Yeah, I mean, as a quarterback, who's played against a lot of good defensive lines, I trust my guys against anybody in the country. I mean, these are Notre Dame offensive linemen we're talking about. I mean, you don't recruit just anybody. It's a privilege to play offensive line at Notre Dame, and they understand the magnitude that comes with that. So they're going to be prepared for any challenge, whether he plays or not. Obviously, extremely good player who's got a high future ahead of him. But as far as our preparation and how much we're going to worry about him playing or not, it's something that we can't control. And one thing we learned throughout the season, if you can't control it, don't worry about it. You can't control about the opinions of others, don't worry about it. So whether he plays or not,
The way he responded to that, one, talking about his offensive line and the history that what it means to be an offensive lineman at Notre Dame. It's offensive line you. I mean, we're just in this previous draft, we saw Joe Alt come out, and there have been a number of dudes drafted into the NFL that come out of Notre Dame. And what he's speaking to here, and what I'm most pumped about him talking about, is having that mindset of like, you can only control the controllables. And I know that's coach speak to a certain degree, but it makes so much sense. It's like, worry about your job in the Bill Belichick sort of mindset, and only worry about that, and be there with your teammates and make sure that you do your job for your teammates. Outside of that, it's just, shit happens. That's life. That's football for sure, especially in the injury realm. And you got to have that mentality to just continue to push forward. So like, I love the fact that Riley Leonard is the leader of this team. Doesn't matter that he doesn't get the stats that everybody else is putting up in the CFP and the quarterbacks remaining in the CFP here, but ultimately, he seems to be the right leader, the right man to be behind center and to lead the Fighting Irish alongside Jeremiah Love, who's an absolute dog in the backfield. And then you got Marcus Freeman at the helm calling the shots alongside the OC and DC. So, I mean, all of this is just feeling so right.
Yeah, dude. Well, I mean, speaking of Marcus Freeman, we throw this up here real quick, this tweet. This tweet says, I really cannot imagine anyone could have handled that Northern Illinois loss and everything that happened after as well as Marcus Freeman did. What a credit to his leadership and the mental/physical toughness of this Notre Dame team. Because, dude, what was that? That was week 2, I think. Like, absolutely devastating, embarrassing loss at home against a directional school. And to bounce back from that is just a great example of what you said, the leadership capability of Marcus Freeman here and getting the team to now be in the Final Four of college football.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Marcus Freeman, we talked about it for the past few episodes. The fact that he is the leader, I was initially a little bit of a doubter at the beginning, especially after the directional Illinois loss. I mean, that's incredibly tough to swallow as a fan. But at the same time, the way they've corrected their approach and their gameplay from that moment to the end of this season, or to this point in the season, has been unreal. Like, the defense has shored up to a degree that's second to none. I mean, they're I think it's top 3 in the nation in their defensive prowess there. And then on top of that, just offensively, they've done what they needed to do in order to get the wins. And yeah, it may not be pretty, as I just alluded to with Riley Leonard, all the time, but that doesn't matter. Like, the goal is to work as a team together. There doesn't need to be a massive mega star on your team. It's all about working together and getting that W. And I feel like Marcus Freeman has instilled that in his dudes, and they have all bought in to the same degree. I keep bringing up Bill Belichick, but to the same degree, this team feels very much like a New England Patriots team of old, even though they don't have a Tom Brady, as I keep saying. They have that drive and that mentality, and that coach at the helm that's leading them into the charge. So it's like, I couldn't be more pumped for this game on Thursday.
Yeah. And Marcus Freeman's only 38 years old, dude. That's awesome. That's very, very impressive. It also is depressing to me now that I am in my early 30s. I'm like, you mean to tell me I've got to get a blue blood college football powerhouse program to that level in 6 years, or I'm not on pace?
Yep.
Nick, I can't imagine the practices he'd throw together as a head coach. No one has to do Indy. You don't have to do Indy. Also, you don't have to practice if you don't want to, actually.
Yes.
That's your whole attitude.
That's how I run a team. And also, you show up to the game 15 minutes before, you put your pants on, your pads on, you don't warm up, and you go out there for kickoff.
Okay,
that's
how
I run my squad.
That I like. Game day, you should not warm up on game day. It's the dumbest waste of energy ever. Practice, though.
Practice, Mike. You can't be half in on
my. You have the Georgetown Allen Iverson approach.
You're right. You're right. Okay, we're talking about practice. A great Hoya. Speaking of Georgetown, okay, but you can't be half in on my approach here. It's either you're all in, Mike, like just no indies, and kind of. I'm not against practice. I'm against indies. I am formally and just strongly against indie drills.
You just go
college.
team the whole time.
You go Skelly, you go team, you go a little crossover.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, dude, there's got to be a little bit of indie for technique and such. But like, I agree with you. The majority of practice needs to be just team, one-on-ones. You know, you can get the scout team in there running a few.
Freshmen can do indie.
Yeah.
After freshman year, no more indie.
Right. Yeah. And that's
on
good.
that.
That's a good system. And I had
Develop
to just
your technique on the side. You do it yourself. We worry about plays, X's and O's here for the practices.
I think I told you guys about kind of how I modified my practice schedule a little bit with that after freshman year. And I no longer participated in indies because my knee would always hurt during indies. And then, you know what was actually one of the fun, I know I got to get back to this, but one of the funniest things was I had really bad blisters in fall camp. Okay. It was super hot. Mike, shut up. Okay.
Wow. Stanley Yellmans?
So bad. I had to bring Vaseline out onto the field, and every 5 minutes I had to rub my entire foot with Vaseline and put it back in.
That's not what you do with blisters. You put baby powder in your shoes. You put
same sort of technique.
Vaseline. That makes it worse.
Anyway,
same sort of technique.
Who's your training staff?
Well, it was Travis McCormick, great Irishman. I told the coaches, hey, I've only got X amount of go on this blister here each day. I think it's smart if I don't participate in warmups or indie and I save it for Skelly and team. And they totally accepted that. And so for half of fall camp, one of my seasons, I never had to do any of that. And I just got to jump in halfway through practice during Skelly and team. It's great.
This was in college?
This is at Georgetown.
Oh.
What was your record? What a program.
Mike, how dare you? Rob Scarlatta, the head coach, is going to come on this show, and he's going to reprimand you.
So, that was good.
Scott, that's probably why we lost to you guys every year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we weren't much better, but our approach there, if anybody came to one of our coaches like that, I'm pretty sure we would have had to gone 2-a-days each day that somebody did that. So completely different approach.
Your guys' coaches were crazy. Also, you had like 40 different coaching staff. Will you throw this up here? Will you throw this up here real quick, Scott? Just quickly, getting back to the game, actually looking at the talent on these rosters. Not too much of a disparity in terms of like blue chip recruits, except for in the 5 stars. Penn State has 5 5-star players on their roster. Notre Dame only has 1. But this kind of goes back to what you were saying, Scott, is that it's not about having the overall superstar solo players, but just having a team that works really well together. And I think that's kind of what Notre Dame has. I think Notre Dame is going to win this game.
Yeah, no, this is such a great matchup, and I too believe, even if I weren't a fan, that Notre Dame has Penn State's number here. I think to these numbers right here, I think both programs, they're kind of in the same realm, though I think Notre Dame does a better job at this. But I think Notre Dame is it's a culture and an organization and team that is dead set on developing players, right? So while they may utilize the transfer portal, yes, to a certain degree, and they do utilize the NIL, the new rules to the NIL, and gathering some players that they may not otherwise have recruited early on in stages, the majority and bulwark of this team comes from those that they get who are 4, 3, 2 stars, right? And they develop those guys into the quality and caliber of, say, a high 4-star to a 1-star. And those are the dudes who end up going to the league. And we see that time and time again, each recruiting class that happens. So I love the approach of Notre Dame, just in general. Like it's a culture thing to come in and develop from a freshman, redshirt, or anything along those lines, and develop to a senior, because the majority of guys stay all 4 years. There's a development factor to this organization that I think Penn State has to a certain degree as well. But I think Notre Dame, it's just instilled there to a greater degree than, say, Penn State's.
Yeah, I think actually in today's day and age, Notre Dame has the strongest case for this, what you're saying right now. Because, for example, guys, if you're going to Tennessee, okay, or Ole Miss, you're not, maybe you have a ton of family history there and you want to get an Ole Miss degree. But for the most part,
you got to choose Ole Miss. You know, my uncle's there in the front office.
Not known for its academics. But if you're going to Notre Dame as a recruit, you are like, of course you're going there for football, but also Notre Dame attracts a certain type of recruit that cares about more things than just the football field. It's an organization, institution that is kind of developing you fully as a person. Not to say that other colleges don't do that, but with a program like Notre Dame that's super elite academically as well, I think that you're going to have less guys ditching out into the transfer portal if they're sitting behind somebody, and they'll stay there and develop, because getting that Notre Dame degree is super important to them as well.
Yeah, they're a bunch of nerds.
That's what I was trying to say.
Okay, I have a quick funny story. When we played Stanford at Oregon State, obviously Oregon State's not an academic school, but when we played Stanford, Coach Corey Hall was the interim head coach. I think we had like 2 wins in the season. We're going in to play Stanford, and he played the clip from 300 where because he was making fun of Stanford of these academic school football teams where the guys are all going to go off and be doctors and have these great lives after football. He was emphasizing that we were just stupid football players. And he played the clip from 300 where he asks this army that's going to fight with the Spartans, "What is your profession?" And they all go around, "Craftsman, I'm a butcher," or whatever. And then he goes, "Spartans, what are your profession?" "Spartan." "Oh, okay." And he was trying to say that we were the Spartans because we had no skills. And it really fired us up, actually.
But that's actually, in a backwards way, that works. He's just trying to say, you guys got nothing outside of this. This is all you have to offer.
So that's how you rile up a team going into play an academic school like Notre Dame.
That's good. And then they did not retain him as the full-time head coach.
No, he's gone pretty quick.
They did not. Okay, they did not. All right. So
but going to that final point, I love that story. First off, just telling your guys, hey, be berserkers, and that's all you need to be. Let's go after these Athenians who are just, artistes, big brain people. But no, going back to your point, Nick, and talking about like Notre Dame, what I think when I say developing, yes, I was speaking directly to the football program, and I think they're incredible developers of football players. But at the same time, the culture of the university itself, and while it may have, from a Catholic's perspective, definitely gone astray in a few different areas over time, I think through and through the culture building at Notre Dame is something that's second to none in the university realm, and it's truly an environment in which student athletes can be exactly that, student athletes, developing both sides of the brain, developing themselves physically and pushing themselves in both realms to higher and higher degrees. So it's one of those situations where it's a perfect storm, and I love seeing that they're here competing for a national championship once again.
Yeah, man, I know we should move on. I do have this clip here real quick. It's 40 seconds of Notre Dame's DC, Al Golden.
Oh, yeah, bring him up. Dude, he's done an insane job. I talked to the defense.
He's done a great job. Dude. He's done a really good job. I'm interested to hear your guys' response. Mikey, yours as well, to this video clip. Scott, will you throw it up?
The overarching lesson that has always stayed with me is that if you take care of the person will become, what you want as an athlete. So whether it's the character development, the community service, be demanding academically, be disciplined, form great habits, be a team player, all of those things. And then if you care about the relationship, if you care about the player, as a person, he'll take care of the rest. He'll make the journey to becoming a really, really good, football player. So
Dude. Thoughts on that? I know that's a really nice sentiment right there. And we were just kind of talking along these lines here about how Notre Dame sort of does that. Do you fully believe that is true? Or sometimes does talent of a guy that's not really fully developed off the field and maybe not such a stand-up guy, does that sometimes outweigh a fully developed person who maybe is not necessarily as talented on the football field?
Yeah, this cuts against what I was kind of just saying right there about the development of the whole person, right, at Notre Dame and it being a culture like that. But taking the Deion Sanders approach here is sometimes at certain positions you want guys who have had to fight in a different way than others. And I think Mikey was the one who was saying, like, you want your quarterback to be the one who comes from a stable background and has that the X's and O's down and has that sort of knowledge and everything. But you want the dogs up front, especially at the D line position or on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the first and second level. It's just one of those things that it is true to the game because it is so violent. And to a certain degree, some people who maybe call it more well-rounded or adjusted to culture and society, I guess I would say, might not be as aggressive as is needed on the football field. So like, I get that sentiment. It's just funny that it's all coming from Al Golden, who weirdly enough, I don't know if you guys knew this, but he was a captain of the Nittany Lions back in the day as a tight end, which is interesting that he's going up against his alma mater here.
That's true. That is. And I think you want a combination. It's kind of like what we talked about a few weeks ago of like, which guy on your team do you want to be in a stable relationship or married? Like, which guys on your team do you want to be a really well-rounded person, and which do you want to be kind of just a dog that just cares about football and maybe isn't so, putting so much effort into the academics, what have you. Mike, do you have a thought on this?
Yeah, you know what? I got a few thoughts.
Okay.
Let me break this down. Okay, the first thing is, with the way that NIL, college coaches, and kind of like we see in the NFL, you get 1 year and then you're out. You have to perform as a coach. You have to perform in 1 year, or pretty much you're out. Coaches under that much scrutiny, they don't give a shit what kind of people their players are. They're putting whoever's going to make plays on the field. The culture doesn't matter. That's the thing with these 1 year contracts, or like you have 1 year to perform. You don't have time to build culture and build kind of a dynasty, like the way Saban does. Like, obviously that's a long-term goal, but like, that's kind of the mold that you want to build. You build that by promoting guys who are well-rounded and guys who can buy into the culture that you're building as a team. But when you're one of these coaches who you have to get wins now or you're out, you don't give a shit what kind of character these players are. You go in the transfer portal, you're pulling just the most, the craziest guys you can find to put on the field and give yourself job security. And I think early on in your coaching career, you don't give a shit what kind of people these players are.
He don't give a shit about nothing.
No.
This speaks to what a program like Notre Dame is doing and can do and continues to do. And that's why I think also that Notre Dame is at the start probably of a 7 to 10 year run of being really good. Like they're just laying the foundation for a program that'll be good year after year. Scott, I know you want to talk about Notre Dame all day. It's your favorite thing ever, but we have to move on just quickly a little bit. Let's just touch on the Ohio State Texas game. We'll talk about it a little bit more on Friday because they're playing on that, and we'll be doing our show before then. Let me throw up just the talent matchup here for Ohio State Texas. Okay. Ryan Day versus Sarkisian. Here we go. Can you see? Oh, here, let me scroll down a little bit. So you can see the 4 stars, 5 stars, 3 stars. Very, very even across the board. Look at all those 5 stars. Both of these squads have way more 5 stars than Notre Dame or Penn State at all. Triple the amount of Penn State Ohio State has, and 14 times the amount of Notre Dame. Thoughts on this? What do you think's gonna play out here in this Ohio State Texas matchup?
Oh man, those numbers are nuts to see, and obviously we've been talking about the NIL deal that somehow got leaked, or the NIL deals, the compilation of NIL deals that somehow got leaked for Ohio State being roughly $20 million. All right, and that's not to say like, okay, Ohio State, I got to give them, the devil's due. The other teams in this CFP definitely have sizable NIL deals and money going out to certain players, right? But to see this number in terms of stars and talent, at least coming from the high school realm, it is such a stark difference compared to the other two that we just saw. But I think that's also part of the beauty of this is it speaks to good programs at large and how you are able to develop, whether it be great talent, develop them to be even better, or solid talent and develop them to be great. This is just, these numbers are nuts to see. And I lost my thought train right there. So I'm going to hand it back.
You're seeing stars, Scott. Too many stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, all the stars. Yeah. I think it's crazy that just to see kind of, we're at the final 4 of the 4 best college football programs this year. and there's a huge disparity in kind of that top level, those 5-star players. And we can argue if those are really credible and how many 5 stars actually end up panning out to be 5-star type NFL guys. But with the ratings that they have right now, these two squads have way more, or are able to attract way more of that kind of cream of the crop talent.
Yeah, dude. I mean, just looking at Ohio State, and we're seeing the impact that Jeremiah Smith is having, number 4, the wide receiver for them. He's a freshman, true freshman, just absolutely balling out for them. And like Will Howard, he's got to be thanking his lucky stars, literally, these stars, for coming through and being there for him. Because boy, like some of the talent that they get just right off the bat is unbelievable, and probably NFL skill level.
Dude, I was hearing if he was in the draft this year, he would be top 2 pick.
Easy. I mean, what he's doing is wild. And we just came off of watching Harrison Jr. doing something that was insane at Ohio State. And just they keep finding these wide receivers that it's just like a never-ending supply of just top talent.
It's crazy in this day and age, and kind of the 7-on-7 camp day and age. And also we're in the era of the wide receiver. They get the big contracts. Running back is less glamorous now. There are damn near 20 NFL ready wide receivers in almost every single draft. It's like, it's super impressive wide receiver talent, but there's so much of it, dude. And like compare it to some of these other positions. Like, I mean, this year is a weak quarterback draft, for example, but there's like almost every year you've got a lot of wide receivers available.
What do you think about this theory with the receivers? NFL receivers, it's becoming more common that they have their own YouTube channels, okay, and they post their workouts and their training and their all little tips and techniques, okay, when on the field. So there's more readily available information for up-and-coming receivers to just go on YouTube and get all these pro-level techniques and adopt to their games from high school and early on, more so than other guys. You don't see linemen having YouTube channels with a camera crew following around during the workouts.
Hold on.
Receivers, that's actually a good theory. And it is because you have to have sort of this vanity, this ego to do YouTube. I don't know anybody who would be able to point a camera at themselves. And those are the most those are the most wide receiver. Say what you want. Wide receiver is the most vain position in football. Give me the ball. I want the ball. I'm always open. Throw me the ball. And you have to have a little bit of vanity to have a YouTube channel like that.
Okay, but it's turning into selflessness because they're giving away all their techniques, their tips, the stuff that makes them great. That's why you're getting these new receivers great off the bat.
It's accidental selflessness. So
here's the thing. Selfishness is actually selfless. You got to secure your mass before assisting others. You can't pour from an empty cup.
I say that. Okay, Gordon Gecko over here. Greed is good. Scott, you got any thoughts on this?
Oh boy, talking about warping of words and the definitions. This is, I don't know where we are. My brain's in a pretzel right now. But all I gotta say is we're only seeing the wide receivers because our algorithm's probably just feeding us the wide receivers because that's what we may have been interested in or glued to. I bet you there are a few offensive linemen out there doing real hard pass sets, just grinding away with a couple hundred views like us.
That's so funny.
147 views, 129 views. Okay. Well, find us those YouTube channels and send it to us.
Pretty good theory, huh?
It is a good theory.
That's
Mike.
a good theory.
That's a good theory. And I think there's some credibility to that.
But I would say call it their self-centeredness is actually sabotaging their ability to keep those weapons and those tools and those skill sets that they've sharpened to a certain degree because they're so enamored with getting those likes and those views that they're actually willing to show the world all of their tricks, which is a self-sabotage in a certain way.
Icarus, if you will.
Yeah. There you go. Icarus. Great documentary, by the way. Here, I'm throwing this up. This is not that crazy, but it's just kind of fun to see. Ohio State is blasting crowd noise at practice for this game coming up. Mike, didn't you guys do this during like the COVID time when you had no fans in the stadium? Did you guys blast crowd noise?
Yeah, for every game. And we also had cardboard cutouts of fans in the stands. Thousands of them. Like the whole student section was cardboard cutouts of like cartoon humans. It's hilarious.
Couldn't you?
We had the crowd noise pumped in really heavily, and then at practice as well, especially when we played like USC or anything. We would play the USC fight song blasted the whole practice, and like for any other big games like that.
In preparation for them scoring 10 touchdowns on
Yeah.
you, and you guys have to hear it so many times.
You ready to hear it?
Better get used to it. Better get ready to hear it. All right, quick. We'll talk about it more on Friday, but quick thoughts. Who's going to win this game?
It's going to be Ohio State. They're on a special run right now. I think that Michigan loss really kickstarted something, and Will Howard's been playing out of his mind ever since then, which has been impressive. So I think they're just going to keep it rolling. And to be quite honest, Texas has escaped the past couple games from a few nail biters. So I don't know.
Texas is lucky to even be in this game with how they played against Arizona State. It's interesting. They kind of, I wonder, I mean, it seemed there is a huge talent disparity in Texas and Arizona State. Texas obviously played down to Arizona State's level. Props to ASU and Scatabo and everyone on that squad for playing up. I wonder if Texas will rise to the occasion against Ohio State. But just what you said, man, Ohio State looked really good against Oregon. Texas barely escaped in that quarterfinal rounds, and I think that Ohio State's going to run away with this one.
Yeah, but to be frank, I mean, props to ASU for sure. But they had one quarter of incredible football. Texas dominated that game up until the fourth quarter.
Well, that's all it takes.
Yeah, it's all it takes for sure. But that's the crack in the armor for Texas. They need to put together 4 quarters of very good football in order to beat Ohio State, and it has to be their best, because otherwise, dude, Ohio State's on a roll.
Yeah, I mean, there's something. Sark is a great coach, but his teams sometimes they can feel a little loose or a little like not concretely structured for 4 quarters of football, and like just I guess not so buttoned up all the time. And I think we saw that a little bit in the Arizona State game. And maybe I'm just a little bit biased because I don't really like Sark because he lied to my face and our family's face as I sat in his office.
Where was he at again?
He was at Washington.
Oh, okay.
Joey was on a recruiting visit, and we're sitting in the office, and he's like, I think my mom asked, like, one of the concerns is that you would leave, a year into Joey's time here. And he goes, listen, Mrs. Alfieri, my daughter's just started school here. I drive my boat into work. I absolutely promise you there's no way I am leaving here for at least 5 years. And then like 3 months later, he was gone to USC.
Dude, yeah. Don't you lie to my mother. That I agree with that.
Lie to my mom, dude. Mike, you lied. Our mom. You know Ma?
Ma Alfieri? Oh my gosh.
You lied to Ma.
That's the nature of college coaching.
Yeah.
Tell your soul and lie to innocent mothers.
Innocent mothers everywhere being lied to. Okay, let's give a little bit. All right, let's give a little bit of props to the Division I AA. Mike, I know you played 1A. You elitist. You're better than us. Scott, you and me, 1 AA. But North Dakota State, is it time for them to maybe move up and go to FBS? They have won, what is that? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 championships, national championships since 2011. A little bit ridiculous here. Thoughts on this, and if North Dakota State should move up?
Dude, they've been so dominant for so long, and honestly, like JMU was right there with them. We saw them over 2-3 years ago. They made the hop up. And they performed incredibly well at the single A level, and so I don't know why specifically the Dakotas, both of them, honestly, both the North and South Dakota States, they should be hopping over because they're at the cream of the crop. They're just as good, if not better, than JMU was with Signetti over there. So I think they should seriously consider making the move, which they probably are. But at the same time, it's one of those things like, would you rather be a medium to small size fish in a big pond or a shark in a lake? Like that's essentially in FCS.
Dude, they are jaws in this FCS world right here. Yeah, man. I don't know like how realistic it is or what all the ins and outs are for why you would or wouldn't do it. But I would just think that being this dominant at the FCS level for so long, just year in and year out, like that's ridiculous. That wouldn't the university want to make the jump up there?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a desire from a lot of fans and just like for competition's sake. It's just like at a certain point, it does get somewhat boring living at the top for so long, which is crazy to say. It's like you need another mountain, you do need another mountain or challenge to contend with and climb. So it's one of those situations where I bet you within the next 5 years we'll see some news break out, and maybe sooner, that they're going to make the jump. But now that the Ivy League's competing, and everybody's probably thinking like, wait, this guy's talking about Notre Dame, but he's wearing Penn State colors. No, I'm wearing Yale colors right now because we now have a chance to compete in the FCS tournament, and we will be on top once the Dakotas leave.
There we go. North Dakota State is going to leave to FBS, and Yale is going to be in there in the
Roll Dogs, baby,
and then Georgetown. Okay? Hoya's couple years behind you. We're gonna get Scarlett on the show. We're gonna talk about Georgetown's. They're trending up though. I wanted to throw this up because this is super interesting. All right, I mean, I know we gave all our love to big time college football, but do not forget that there are also NAIA Division II, Division III football. Now, these are the national champions this year. Grandview from Iowa, the NAIA champ. Mount Union from Ohio is the D3 champ. Ferris State from Michigan is the D2 champ, and we just talked about it. North Dakota State from North Dakota is the Division I AA champion. What is the deal with this being such a hotbed of football elite or not elitism, but just football success? Because also then you also look at Notre Dame's right there, Ohio State is right there, and Michigan, Penn State is kind of in there as well. What is about
the
this
Midwest?
Region,
people, just because people tend to be nicer within the Midwest, it's as though they don't like the grand scheme. The coastal elitists don't assume that they are really good at sports, right? Dude, they have killer instincts, especially when it comes to football. Like I'm talking about Ohio, that is such a hotbed for a top-notch talent on the football field, let alone sports at large. So like, I don't think the Midwest gets enough. They're not lauded as much as they should be. And like these numbers right here, we're seeing, as you just mentioned, Ohio State, Penn State. I mean, Pennsylvania is insane at football too. Notre Dame, like all of these teams are just dominating the Southern teams year in and year out. And the level and depth of quality players in that region is just second to none. So like, I'm glad that this is actually getting out here, but Midwest football, baby, way better than people give it credit for, especially come November and December.
Okay. Also, hey,
I'm getting a little I'm getting a little heated.
We're Pacific Northwest football, also good.
Yeah, I think the Pacific Northwest is great.
Pacific Northwest.
Specifically.
Here's what it is. You
is.
You get all these really tough players to go play in these cold, harsh conditions. Guys like me would never go there. You weed out all the weak people because only just brutes would be willing to go play in that weather.
True. There is something to that cold weather. And then it's like when Indiana was on its run this year and everyone was calling them fraudulent, sometimes myself included, I'm a little bit guilty of that, but it's like, we got to give the Midwest way more props. And Indiana, their loss to Notre Dame in the CFP is actually holding up pretty well as we see Notre Dame continue on and maybe win the national championship. So we kind of got to shut our mouth on bashing the Midwest a little bit here. It's the full conversation. Everyone always thinks about, Texas, the South, Florida, Georgia. This is where football is, but it's like football's from Ohio.
Dude, I understand the sentiment of like, football up in the Midwest, it's just slower, it's all that kind of stuff. And yeah, to a certain degree, that's true. Just because the style of play, they understand the elements that they have to play in, and they build their rosters and their teams to fit that sort of environment that they're going to be playing in more frequently than say the South. So they don't necessarily need, while they'll get some at certain positions, they don't necessarily need top speed at every position, but they're going to look for building out in the trenches, first and foremost, ground and pound sort of offense. And then they take advantage of certain players in certain positions with speed. And it's just, I feel like it's where tradition, I keep talking about tradition. We talked about it at the beginning of this, but it's where traditional football is thriving and surviving. And we're seeing it when they're like, football is a game of attrition. Over time, this style of football tends to win out over just the flash and the speed, because when you go into those different environments, like I said, those fall by the wayside much sooner and much quicker.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's a little bit. It is kind of tradition and substance over flash and sizzle. And over the long run, that really rises to the top. And now we also see that with the 4 teams that are left in the college football playoff. It's wild, man. All this a lot of these the North, man. The North there's a little bit of a civil war, in America, talking about the North versus the South in terms of football abilities and skills. But it's all, what's also interesting is that the Northeast, because that's where a lot of the football kind of started in the United States. And you think back to, Yale versus Rutgers and Harvard and all these squads playing in the Northeast. But it seems that talent and that football bravado moved slightly west to the Midwest. Now the Northeast has kind of got nothing in terms
westward
of
expansion,
football.
baby. That's just that's the story of America. And honestly, the great settlers, those who come from those tough wintry conditions, Scandinavians, definitely Germans, so on and so forth, Irish, they all ended up mainly in the Midwest. That's not to say they didn't end up elsewhere in the country, but that's where they originally settled. And it's it's part of the culture, as I go back to with even speaking about Notre Dame. It's just ingrained in the way in which they approach every bit of their lives. And when it comes to football, it's absolutely apparent.
A lot of Italians in the Northeast, not necessarily known for football. Okay. I mean, with the Alfieri family, and then who else? You got a couple others. However, Italy did win the European Championship for American football. I was on that team. So, but when it comes to in the United States, Italians not necessarily known for being the big football brutes. All right. Last, we got to touch on this, dude. USA hockey, World Juniors. Okay. The United States of America is back-to-back champions for the World Juniors. I'm going to throw this up. This is a really cool moment right here.
Chances. And you will have no commercial breaks. Here's a flip ahead. Here comes a chance for Stiga. He's in. He's gone.
Oh, that's it.
Denny Stiga. His first goal of the tournament. And it comes at a perfect time.
So that's their win in overtime over Finland. And dude, I love international competition, whether it's the Olympics or whether these international junior competitions, international competition where you get to represent your country and have countries competing against each other is sick. Thoughts on this and the USA being the best at
Dude,
hockey?
I love it. This is pretty impressive, and I hope it starts trickling into the sport itself, because I know the NHL, we were talking about it and giving it its flowers and its potential and growth in the United States, just because there are certain sports that are falling by the wayside due to ratings and all that kind of stuff. But this is really cool to see America starting to take a step forward in a sport that's technically not ours, right? Like Canada claims it. Russia loves the sport too, because they just live in the tundra, and so on and so forth. But I love to see this step forward with the Americans taking the, let's call it the foreigners' cake in this regard.
Hey,
Snow cones.
Take that. Look, this is one of the funniest things that I've come across on Twitter. Obviously, Justin Trudeau is going to resign as the Prime Minister of Canada, and somebody tweeted, "Bounced by Czechia in the quarterfinals 2 years in a row. Change starts at the top." Absolutely hilarious. You can't lead a country this way. It's an embarrassment to the entire nation of Canada, which has once been great at hockey. But now USA, we take the cake, the puck-shaped cake. Also, this is cool, like with the international competition stuff. Real quick, I'll throw this up. Sing the national anthem at the end.
For the moment that
boys, just gold medal. Let's go.
This is awesome.
And so I won't play the whole thing, but I love this when they raise the flags and like the USA flag is above. I love that they have that tradition with international competition.
Yeah, letting them know in every which way.
So, man, hockey is just so sick. I would like to see it continue to expand. And have you ever been to an NHL?
I've never been to an NHL game, but I think I told you guys in college I dated a girl who was on the women's hockey team, and I went and watched a lot of the Yale men's team just because I was friends with some of the dudes, and they won the Natty when I was there in 2013. So, like, dude, that speed is wild to see in person. It's like, obviously when you're watching on TV, don't know where the puck is. Don't know.
Where's black? Yeah, black. It needs to be like neon green or something. You can't see it.
Yeah, but like seeing it in person, it's like I think every sports fan should go and witness a hockey game in person because I think it needs more attention because it is such a fast and powerful game. It's so dope. I think the culture of hockey is actually pretty sick, and I think it's really, really close to football culture.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, I had slight interaction with hockey dudes in college. It was club hockey at Georgetown, so not legit. What do you think is the difference in culture between football dudes and hockey dudes, or football and hockey? I mean, because it is pretty similar.
It's pretty similar in terms of just, I think, overall outlook and perspective of the players and coaches and just in general. Like they're definitely, it's definitely more of a masculine undertone. If not just on the face. There's no complaining on either side of the ball. I think one of the problems right now with football culture is that it's becoming so me-centric and so I'm building my brand centric. We were talking about earlier about the wide receivers and everything. It's becoming more of a player-driven league. Even though it's tough to say it's close to the NBA. It's just moving in that direction a little more so than hockey. And what I love about hockey culture is that they keep everything in-house and within the locker room and everything. They don't go out. They don't like hockey players. You rarely see them trying to like build out YouTube channels or podcasts or anything like that, dude. They're so tight-lipped, and it's just like, I love the game. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to swing some fists around every once in a while. And the fact that that's still involved in the game and part of the game, I absolutely love it. So I'm becoming more of a hockey fan here.
All right, here we have it. We're just under an hour there. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
I just love. I got to bring it back to the tradition of Notre Dame, the feeling, the groundswell, momentum is shifting for sure with all of this, and like cherry on top right here with U.S. junior hockey winning it all, taking it home, and I feel like there's a change in the air. I feel it in the water,
in the winds too, right, Scott?
Say. And in the winds, it is pretty windy down there, Scott.
Yeah, pull of wood.
Too soon.
Too soon, Mike. Gosh, you're all right, Scott. Be safe down there, for real.
Yeah. If you guys don't see me on Friday, just asking for prayers for obviously not just my extended family, but everybody down here in Southern California. I know it gets a bad rap here with the people and the culture, but that doesn't mean that you can't pray for them and hope that they're okay and safe. So it's a serious issue going on right now. So hopefully we come out of this all the better.
Yeah, for sure, man. We're praying for you guys down there. Take care of it all. All right, guys. Mike, see you later. Okay, everybody. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on Friday. And Scott, you're going to be there on Friday. Okay, it's going to be okay.
I'll make it happen. I'll try.
50-50.
All right, everybody. And if play, got play. All right.
Peace.
See ya.